What's up, guys? Max here, back with a brand new episode of the Scuttlebutt Show. I hope you're all doing great out there, wherever you are. Whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a great day. Today, I am very excited because we have two special guests on the other line right now. I'm going to bring them on here in a second to talk about all things cool technology, STEM. We're going to get into what that is, veteran transition, how veterans can get cool jobs in these different, interesting, up-and-coming fields, and just learn about two cool new people. So let me introduce you to my two buddies, Pumbaa and Jimmy. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, how's it going, Max? I'm pleasure to be on the show. I'm doing excellent.
Thank you.
Pretty well.
Pumbaa, how are you
doing? Great, Max. Thanks for having us. Definitely excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's awesome to have you. I wanted to start by giving you guys an opportunity. Jimmy, if you want to go first, just to introduce yourself and let people know kind of a little bit about you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jimmy. Was in the SEAL teams ever since I was out of high school. And when I was getting ready to transition out of the teams, I was thinking, I stressed myself out way too much, thinking and overthinking, what am I going to do when I get out? And my thoughts would immediately go from, I'm never going to be able to find a job because I don't know how to write a resume, so I'm going to be living underneath the bridge. And there was no in between. It was, and so I had it in my mind that I kind of just accepted it, that I'd be living underneath the bridge until I met Pumbaa. But no, that's not really how the story goes, but kind of along those lines, I really kind of was just searching around here and there and just talking to different people. And I ran into Pumbaa, and I told him, hey, I'm looking to get out. And he was able to kind of calm my nerves a little bit and just tell me, hey, the other side, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. You know, it's worse. So, it's a little, the best story of the day is the printer, jamming. So.
Yeah. I want to get into that. I want to get into that. That's great. That took a second to register, but that was hilarious. Well, and then Pumbaa, who are you and why would Jimmy, find you in this big, crazy world?
Definitely. So George Alcazar, everybody calls me Pumbaa. Picked up that call sign a while back from a combat search and rescue team, and as special operations and moving into that, we met working a project together and doing some advanced special ops stuff together. As Jimmy started to transition and get ready to move out, there was a program called Skill Bridge. So he asked if he could kind of join me as I was starting an advanced technology company, but it surrounds a lot of unmanned systems. And he was super interested, they have a couple of different unmanned systems in naval special warfare. And he knew it was going to be a great area to transition into as he got out. So he asked me to help out, and I found out he was smart and, wasn't just a door kicker, and understood a lot more stuff with technology and how STEM applies to all that stuff. And I was like, hey, let's join forces, and became a founder with the Unmanned Advantage. And we started targeting different companies and seeing how we could introduce that same STEM technology, hopefully support some more veterans, and say, how can we deliver a company that you would want to fit? Because if you've struggled your whole time and or you had a great time in whether it's the teams or special operations or support or any of that, just being in the military, as you get out, it's like, hey, where do I go from here? Who's here to help me? So we became.
Yeah, I guarantee every veteran has done this, has sat down in front of LinkedIn or Indeed for the first time and typed in shooting range instructor. like just typed in whatever job they were already doing in the military, and well, I guess, and when no jobs came up, they're like, I guess I'm living underneath the bridge.
Yeah. And there's more to it, as far as when you get out, there's the technology. Everybody knows that drones, we like to call them drones, unmanned systems are growing, and, they're not just there to ruin your privacy or peek at you while you're at the pool or stuff like that, or drop bombs overseas. I mean, we've talked about a couple different companies that, are they're delivering Starbucks, or they're doing different things like that. It's a growing field industry. and being aware of what's going on. You know, operators are really good at that. So that community, you know, you don't have to just be a contractor with Academy or a different type of, you know, SEAL team as a contractor and do things like that. If you have a family, you have a chance to apply your I guess, adjustment mobility and things like that to a company that's close by where you're going to smile and see your family and do stuff like that. So, and I'm an old cat, man. You know, my kids are old and I have 3 grandkids. So I love having them around. And that was one of my goals to, you know, I was starting a company. I wanted to make sure that I had time for them just as much as they supported me while I was in.
Dude, you know, a lot to unpack there, but let me just start with that, which is, you know, I tell people, or people bring it up to me all the time on the show, that, and what I tell people about myself personally is, you know, when I got out of the Navy, and maybe Jimmy, you can jump, you know, on this too, but when I got out, I struggled big time with identity and trying to figure out what defines me. And I tried to get into so many different hobbies and try different things. And it took me a while to realize that, you know, what is like really the number one most important thing in my life. And I realized it was my wife and my family. And once you have that kind of clear guiding principle, that North Star, everything else becomes way simpler to frame around that. You know, does that make sense to you guys?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's key. You know, go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, no, I was going to point at the simple fact, like looking at our backgrounds, like yours was deployment. It's the deployment themed, and then but it could be this. And guys have that black and white that they have to choose, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think it's tough. Mm-hmm. You know? Wish there was a simpler in between. Wish we could just deploy for 6 months, and you know.
I think there's a lot of agencies. You know, the Honor Foundation is a huge one. You know, for us, where we all have been part of stuff with them. We definitely have like Heroes to Hire. You have, you know, a lot of different agencies that are helping as you transition. But, you know, like for us, we all came from the special operations community. We confided in each other and we were out there doing things together. So, you know, we trust and make sure that, hey, my decision isn't, I'm not there. That's the one thing I feel like is important, to let everybody know that they're not alone, you know, with things like that. So I don't know. I feel like Jimmy and I were a good match. We definitely started talking in the presentation, and, you know, it wasn't just, we have to get out and go continue to shoot guns. Like Jimmy said, you know, be on a range and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And doing stuff like that. I mean, it's just, there's more to it. There's more out there. Don't limit yourself to, hey, I just need to hold the gun for the rest of my time. You know, the military does great. And let's just say it takes a lot of time from you and your family, and, you know, try to give it back as much as possible to when you get the chance. You know, get your time back.
Yeah.
Hey, I did get the gun job though. I got a job. I got a job offer at Sig Sauer. They actually offered me to live up in. I was going to live up in New Hampshire, and it was like a tryout course, I think, or something. Like they didn't want to tell me I was hired. I was going there. I was traveling all the way there to try out. I didn't take it because of family, even though it was 2 hours away. It was still, you know, this is home.
Well, there you go, man. The North Star. You know, I hope people out there, you know, hear that too, and like take something away from that, because that's, family, whatever that you have to, whatever it is, whatever that thing is, you have to really have that identified and frame everything else around that. And then Puma said, Jimmy, I want to ask you, he said he found out, you know, you weren't just a door kicker, you were smart too, but isn't it true that like the SEAL teams kind of breeds that thinking shooter, that person who can kind of be independent, make good decisions, be smart, be thoughtful, make good ethical decisions, right? Aren't those all things that kind of the SEAL teams try to create?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that is definitely the environment. Innovation. It's in our creed, our ethos. Being able to think outside the box, think of other ways to attack a problem, than just blowing up or kicking the door. Maybe there's other ways to do it than just blunt force trauma. So, you know, but when I first got to the platoon, there was one guy was a brain surgeon. No, not a brain surgeon. Hold on. Brain.
Bro, we're all brain surgeons.
Yeah, we're all brain surgeons. We're all basket weavers. You can see a few brain surgeons on my head too. Yeah, there are some really smart cats. But then, you know, there are some guys that are, you know, someone has to carry a machine gun, and
Yep.
And
Someone's gotta be good at it
that's a
too.
good point about like, the things that are bred into you, like, being an operator. I was more JSOC. I'd end up like at a SEAL team one week, and then I ended up on a MARSOC team next week. I was surrounding the technology, but we all came from that same command where at the beginning you're the master, jack of all trades, master of none type thing. And the guys that are successful are the guys that can modify or adjust or do anything like that and can bring everything and absorb. So, but it's bred into you, like you said, holding a gun. I think a good way to say it would be like, the habits. The other great part about having operators or special ops guys or anybody that's driven, that's made it to that next, that amazing level of whether it's a SEAL team or a JSOC team or anything, those guys don't quit. So taking that drive and getting into technology where we have to, find solutions and getting, what's the STEM angle of this? Jimmy, that was exactly why I think we flowed really well. We were like, hey, let's go find out about this infrastructure behind it. Not just, hey, there's a drone, but what makes the drone work behind the scenes? How do we get that data delivered? That's coming off a payload. How do we get that thing to fly and it's safe, and you have remote tracking, and FAA is growing with all that. How do we make that and apply that to people that just don't understand it? It doesn't have to be, it gets in our habit. So we try to take those good habits, and that's how we help the veterans. But of course, in the end too, like, we're trying to make sure that they can get a good position where they're happy. Hopefully it's, one of the things they ask us is like, well, I want to work in Tennessee. So I'll look up unmanned systems in Tennessee and see where I can get someone in and go, hey, well, you were a good field guy, you mapping, let's go talk about programming for mapping or whatever, and try to give them as many tips. And Jimmy's the same way. And that's where that STEM technology transitioning. And let's be for real. Once again, I'm an old cat. My back hurts sometimes and my knees, and, we can't do all that stuff we used to when we were younger, so I think that's a great transition.
Yeah. And so to kind of give people an idea, you guys see the logo on your screen right now, but let me switch over and I can show you the website. Your guys' company is the Unmanned Advantage, and people are seeing your website on the screen right now. So you guys have this company and you do everything through this. Can you tell us a little bit about the Unmanned Advantage and, what you would want people to know about that?
Yeah. Jimmy came up with the solution that we kind of start with like we start and we call it the 720. Everybody looks at things in a circle, but what about in 720, every area possible, and go in and find out what the requirements are for a company, and you see it shifting through, whether it's training or whether it's integration or any of that stuff. What are your requirements and how can we support? We're not there to sell a product and say, hey, this is the best thing ever. You have to buy my one, whether it's a drone or a program or anything like that. We go, hey, what is going to fit your needs and how are you going to be able to support? So we combine with a lot of, whether it's a collaboration or how we find a way to collaborate with a lot of unmanned systems, but the structure behind it. So we'll go in, find out, someone like Jimmy will go out on site and figure out, hey, this is, the face-to-face, everybody zooms it up. So we zoom it up first, right? And that brings, like Zoom actually came to us and they were like, we would like to get more involved in unmanned systems. How do we do that? So we worked with them, and Oceanside PD, local to San Diego, was trying to figure out a couple of different things. And we were able to help them out with something very simple like that, just trying to get an application to deliver data and talk about how we can move forward and build it for teams. We run into that all the time. All of us in the military, like we said, jacks of all trades, we have how many EOD teams or whatever PD teams are out there. They have five different systems, and, even the programs are different. And you're like, well, this is kind of a side job for me. I'm really a cop and or I'm a Homeland Security guy. I don't really focus on this. So how do we combine it? And the commanders, want to have all that data in front of them. Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, that's the original question was, what is the unmanned advantage? And my take on the unmanned advantage is, it's sort of like if you were building a house, right? you could go out to Home Depot and procure all the items, buy everything you needed, set it out in the yard, and maybe you could put something together that resembles a house, right? But nobody does that. You find a professional who knows the industry, who knows where you're going to get your concrete, who knows where you're going to get your wood. You tell them, hey, I need this set up and I need guys trained, and we can take you from the ground up and have that house all the way built. And that's what the unmanned advantage is for the autonomous drone industry, is that we are the consultants. We reach out to all these different partners, learn everything about these different drones, learn everything about this different drone, talk to the owner of this company, talk to the owner of that company. And when a customer comes to the table and says, I want a drone and I want to do X, Y, and Z. I want to film a movie. Okay, well, we're not looking at necessarily, maybe it's going to have to be VTOL, right? We're taking this off in an urban environment. What's the, flight time? What are the characteristics on that? All the nuances. How's it going to communicate? Is it going to be tethered drone, RF, and then, or do you want to go Iridium, 5G, cellular? That's the new heat as well. Soon it's going to be 6G. And all of our hair is going to fall out. I don't know.
No, that's you're right, man. It's a tool. We're a tool. So someone comes to us and says, "How can I use this tool? This is what I'm trying to do with this. Build a house or build a car, whatever it is. Build this program up. Whether it's support a veteran or whether it's go in and teach kids about STEM technology in colleges. How does that all you can involve aeronautics." And that's something new, like we represent Martac, which is, we worked with them before about, they are a huge company that is a great example of an unmanned surface vessel. Drones don't just fly anymore, that's why we like to consider them unmanned systems and doing things like that. So they're out there doing the job right now and they're growing. So we like to work with them, whether it's sending them hopefully good possibilities to fill their opportunities, or whether it's a program or things like that. The advanced technology, let's see, so it's ATARC, which is a huge acronym, of course, us and acronyms. It's Advanced Technology Academic Research Center came to us and was like, hey, well, since you don't sell one thing, how do we work together they have companies in their working groups to find solutions, but they have like 5G groups, or they have, different groups as far as like workforce transformation. And, they're starting new groups. They're having awards and they're based out of, Washington, a little bit more Baltimore area type stuff, Virginia. But they have groups where we hopefully can become a research tool with the drone cast is what we call it. So, like we said, not just an unmanned system in the drone. It's what's behind the drone. What is actually making it run? How are we getting all that data? What sensors do you actually need? Do you need a really good camera? And I'm trying to sell you this $30,000 camera. Do you just need a $5,000 camera? Let's be real about it. So that hopefully builds us credibility and gets us a little bit more business, but gives us a chance to help out and be home. I'm pretty tired of deploying. I don't mind traveling. So
yeah, there's 100%. There's a lot. Okay, let me unpack a couple things there. I know some people might be wondering, Jimmy, at one point you said VTOL, and I just wanted to add in there that VTOL is like vertical takeoff versus like runway takeoff. So some drones, or we call them drones when we're talking casually, but more formally, we would call them UAVs or UASs. And for the sake of this conversation, we'll just call them drones. If there's any professionals out there listening, they're like, it's not drones. It's not drones.
Can we just all agree? And can we just make a drone a blanket word?
Yeah.
So that nobody has ammo to say that anymore?
I know.
Okay.
I know. That's what I say that a lot on this show. I'm like, I'm just saying drone. Nobody attack me in the comments.
We're calling it a droid.
Drone. Are we even allowed to say drone?
Yeah, drone. Say it again. Say drone one more time.
Say it one more time.
Okay, so that's a lot about what you guys do, and I want to unpack some of that stuff more because we talked about some of the unmanned surface vehicles in the water, and how the Marine Corps is patrolling some of the Pacific with just unmanned boats that are just kind of running their own program. And I want to circle back to that, but you guys have been, serving in the military, JSOC, SEAL teams, deploying, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. When it comes to, I'll just use the name of your company, Unmanned Advantage. What was it like implementing, right? Because I know I can talk to you guys about this, implementing the first real practical use of these small drones in combat, and how did that change the battle space?
You want to take it, Jimmy, or you want me to?
Yeah, sure. So the first drone was actually flown during World War II. No, somewhere around that time period. Jamie, pull that up. Do we have a Jamie on this show?
No, I could.
They're like, it's unmanned system. We're all looking at screens and it's saying unmanned system, say unmanned system.
Puma's got his entire family on their phones. Hey, hurry up.
Yeah.
Kids are faster at typing than I am now.
I know. I think
different world.
What was the first one we used? I mean, I would say like the Raven is probably the original one, right? I mean, they have the original picture and you have your fingers pointing and you're sitting there like this. And, the first 3 times you throw it, it hits the ground.
Yep.
And everyone's like, it's cool because it's made to crash. It's you're like,
Yeah, mine was the Puma flying the. I mean, are you really a pilot if you have to crash every time you land? I don't know. Because that Puma just falls out of the sky at the very end. And then I've never seen it happen, but every pilot claims, this one time I had the smoothest landing, bro. It was like something out of Top Gun, man. No, you didn't. Nobody was there to see it.
I think that like the landings and stuff, I remember having a trailer and, it wasn't even a command when we were there and it started. It was, you had RC planes that, let's just say SOCOM has a lot of spending money for training. So they were training tools and we were rolling with, the futabas and the sticks and all that stuff. And, as we try to implement safety was huge and how we're going to see it and how we're going to use the camera for the tactics. But it got smarter. It's moving faster every day. And now we like to call it a drag and drop system. I pull a mouse or a point or at a waypoint, and now it tells me if I can fly there or not because you're going to hit a mountain. So it tells you have to climb, or will automatically go back to something, and all the programming. And that's exactly how, I guess, ready, sales pitch. That's how we deliver the unmanned advantage. So we sit there, but it's finding your unmanned advantage and how it's going to apply to you. And that's why we go in and, we don't like to say this is a car, this is the best car ever and whatever's going on. And with this, how can we help you? We're here to help you, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's a big system or something that's out of your backpack.
Well, what did it, like, Jimmy, from your perspective, what did it mean to you on the ground to know that there was a opportunity to see a compound from above, just in an orbit pattern around a compound, checking windows, checking doors, seeing where, Blue Force is, seeing where squirters might be going? Did that just change everything?
I remember the first time I didn't even know what a Puma was, but I was in the back of when we still were using Humvees, and I'm looking through the headset eyepiece that our JTAC had, and he had this whole setup where he has a phone on his chest that he can pull down, and he has a map of where we are, and then he has one of his goggles, he's seeing what the bird's seeing, and he's talking on 2 radios.
Yep.
I'm one of those guys. Yeah, I was one of those guys in the teams. Then you have the polar opposite guys who are sometimes like, "What do you need to carry a radio? I can just yell." Like, true, Rod, you can definitely yell. I've heard it, but maybe we need a radio right now, But yeah, the first time I saw it, I was nerding out. I actually made some comments because we were watching our sister platoon run up and do in training out on the island, watched them run up to go do an assault, and I was able to comment like, "Oh, they didn't extend the ladders beforehand," like, and because it was that clear, and it was pitch black, but and then we were able to check the rooftops, and I believe eventually it was one of those things where we got really good utilizing them to how we wanted to. That trade it had to stop. I'm pretty sure it was one of those times where like I trade it, you guys use that anymore because you can see every role player, and you can see every cadre member, and
you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So I was hooked. It's just really hard to get guys into it because there's so many wires,
Yeah, it's I'll just say here that it really gives you a something to think about when you see how much your problem changes when you can take a different perspective, right? If I could switch it into like a more something that might apply to everybody out there listening, you're looking at a building from the ground and there's a 8-foot wall in front of it and you have to go in there. All right, that's a problem. Put yourself above that building, add that new perspective. And now this is not a problem at all. Hey, there's a guy crouched right there. There's a door right over here. It's barricaded. You just all of a sudden have all this different information, and it's really like makes you think, how can I get a different perspective on this problem? And there's nothing that really makes you think about that more than when you're in a dangerous situation and you're not trying to rush into something that's going to get you hurt or killed. You're like, I need all the information that I can get, and people could probably apply that to anything that they're doing.
It's funny you said those words. You said a different definition of the problem or a different way to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always just the bad guys that we're going after. Now, a lot of what drones, or I'm going to call them droids, are, and that are search and rescue. Another perfect example. It costs like $700 an hour to fly a helicopter, roughly. That's what I was told by LAPD helicopter unit, and I guess that includes like their pay and maintenance and stuff like that. And Jamie, pull that up.
Those guys are looking at each other. Who told Jimmy? What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, no. That's a lot of money, right? Should replace those guys with drones. No, there'll always be a place for a manned pilot, always, because there's things that they can do. Well, what if that manned pilot also had birds in the air for search and rescue? And I think that's a hot topic of debate. Is if a helicopter can fly around and stare at people all day long, whatever car they want to, they have a radio. There's 2 of them in there. They're actually viewing it with their eyes. Why can't that be replaced by a long-term UAV in an orbit that would save the taxpayers millions of dollars in the long run, because it's a guy with a camera? Isn't that weird? I think it's because we're losing that touch of a human being. But
I think the technology is definitely an asset. So like you said, getting the different views or coming in and saving money or however it's doing. But, in the end, the best support is for the ground guys. And, the comms, we've all touched on comms. I was the first guy ever to go through comms, Naval Special Warfare comm school with a drone. So I took a Raven with me and I went through, and they were like, well, where do you even go? Are you at I was in the field, I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, next to a guy at an OP or whatever I need to do, and I learned from how high to fly and hopefully not, burn somebody that's, not burn as in physically, but burn as in burn the team going in. But at the same time, so the communication between the team members, the communication between the aircraft and getting everything, the comms back, we ended up, doing a lot more. And then it just built the trust. But the technology and taking that application, now it's exactly, we went to, LAPD with SWAT and those guys, and we're shooting with them. And Jimmy's up there and he's like, yeah, this is the intro. This, we started a company together. We took a couple of our, the Oceanside guys, and it was a great time up there. I guess everybody's a former. So, can't really say we were doing anything with anybody. So, but we went up there, and it was a turnaround of how can we help out what they still have, and that technology. It's not just about funding; it's about saving the element. We do run into things like union and replacing things, and we have great team members, like one of the VPs, Nick Tuckey, is a great dude, and he comes out with, there's remote tracking vehicles, whether it's on the ground, in the water, any of that, and they have a new system out, and we mentioned Skylink, so, and that's a cellular mobility thing. It's, you lose that contact with that. What happens? You lose your bars. I wish my phone would go to the SATCOM, but it's really pricey. But either way, it still keeps the safety aspect and keeping the guys aware on the ground of what's going on, or in the water, or whatever. So I think that's a, I think that starting from where we started in naval special warfare, taking everybody's skills and putting them together, the drive that we all have and kind of was groomed into us, to make sure that we're not just letting things happen. We like to make things happen. And we took that attitude and came out as, the 720 solution, and come up to a company and we're like, hey, what do you know about drones? Oh, you don't know anything, and with kids, it's hey, we'd love to explain some stuff, whether it's Boys and Girl Scouts, or, I used to be an overnight educator on the Midway, and we were talking to the Midway about going out there and hopefully helping them. None of those things are set in stone, but definitely, tune in. It's growing. It's getting bigger. It's not slowing down. So now we get into the funding for it. When do you need, Jimmy, you brought up a great example with the Hilo. It can be from, let's say, from $2,000 an hour to fly. That's if it stays up. Heaven forbid it crashes and hurts anybody, it does anything. Drones or unmanned systems are going to do the same thing. I mean, everybody thinks Teslas can drive themselves, but I don't know, like, it's the whole point, but
yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So that kind of brings up a good point. I got a couple of questions. The first is kind of, how do you, like, it seems like there is a billion companies doing a billion cutting edge things, and as soon as you move towards something, the next best thing is already out there. How do you guys track what technology to, and maybe somebody out there is like listening to this and they're going, oh, I kind of want to get into this industry. How do you even know what to commit yourself and your attention to? How do you even pick?
I'll take it, Jimmy. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that, like, we want to find the best solution. We start where what someone understands, I guess, like we figure out, like you mentioned VTOL. How many people actually know about VTOL? Hey, what do you understand about an unmanned system? Because we want them to be comfortable with what they're going to work with. How are you going to work with, if you need to train, can we get you some training for it? Or how do you understand what's going on? At the Unmanned Advantage, we try to, like, go through courses to make sure that, we're not only up to date, but how it applies. We went to Channel Partners, which is a great conference. We went out there, and it was, we turn around, and a lot of them are like, well, I just do networks. Well, where do you think our data goes? So we try to explain from there, and then build out, whether it's a solution or whether it's a new program or, a job. You win a program, now you have jobs for not just veterans, but, kids coming out of college and stuff like that, and those guys, like Jimmy said earlier, when we were talking, it was, I know that my grandkids probably can out iPhone me. So, like,
and I think part of our expertise is also finding, you said, what's going to be the latest and greatest technology. When we go to all these different companies and we talk to them, they are trying to tell us the best that they have, and we're able to kind of see, okay, this company did really well here, right? I think their 5G technology, their communications needs to be better, or this drone over here that can go underwater, but it can only do it for XYZ amount of time. And we're able to, I think, kind of forecast by being those experts. on all the different drones out there. Yeah, what the future holds and what we think, where we think it's going to go. And we're also talking to customers, so we know what a customer wants too. But we all know companies are hit or miss sometimes, like Tesla,
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you should have bought stock.
We're gonna be so in trouble for saying anything about this.
I
mean, they're successful. It's just, like, how does someone we could talk about whether it's something flying by itself or doing something or driving itself or being, in the water by itself. There's more to it. How does someone that has never messed with that, how do we explain it? How do we get them to be familiar with it and accept it? It's not just, hey, let's put it up there and it's going to fly. Let's be safe about it. And what do you know? And that's one of the biggest things that sucks for every industry. You have the kids that are just like, hey, I'm going to fly this drone out of a skyscraper by LAX. And you're like, come on, dude, really? Like, 'cause then it gets a bad name for everything. So if something happens with that, that's what kind of sucks,
Yeah.
Every 2 steps forward, there's like, half step back type thing.
Well, it's kind of like the ease of access to anything. Once you kind of democratize access to anything, it's going to get into the hands of people who are going to do dumb stuff with it. And I think that that's universally true. What about okay, let me try to expand upon that idea a little bit. Cause I'll tell you, I'm a big like tech nerd. I'm big into tech stuff. And let me tell you what haunts me. Let me put it to you like this. And you guys are working with big, operational budgets. You're talking to big players in this space. You're working on advanced technology. Here's what haunts me. Imagine if I was out there and I don't know about cell phones, right? And so I go into a store and what they're selling is a BlackBerry. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's got a keyboard. It's got a 2-inch screen. The screen has like 18 different colors that it can display. I'm blown away. And I just don't know that the iPhone exists. You know what I mean? So I'm impressed by what I see in the BlackBerry. I just don't know that the iPhone exists. And I wonder what technology I'm using right now on my desk that is the BlackBerry, and I just don't know the iPhone exists. And when you're talking about like military contracting, military innovation, first responder, life-saving stuff, do you wonder if you're working with anything that is the BlackBerry and you just don't know that the iPhone exists in that scenario?
I think part of what helps us with SHOT Show too and conventions,
Yeah.
But
we do. Like, I think that is something that everybody wonders, one of the biggest solutions I think they're trying to find out as a fleet forces or anything, whether it's Navy, Army, whoever, whatever agency or company is, the example I give is always, once again, old school guy, is why are our guys using ColecoVision when Xbox is out there? Kind of the same thing with the BlackBerry and the iPhone.
Yeah.
So we try to do research and do that, but there are programs out there, like whether it's a DIU, there's the whole SoftWorks, FathomWorks. So there are, Jimmy mentioned conventions and going out there. There's ETI community, James Freeman and those guys have a great site for R&D or wherever they want to maximize potential for certain things. So, a lot of different unmanned systems, whether they're ground, any of that stuff, but you also get into application of getting operational, and making it, what's the best bang for your buck in the end, like, I don't want to just, the BlackBerry might be the tool that you need, depending on, because the iPhone might have an application that just doesn't fit. So you go to this part of the world, you're going to have to use a BlackBerry versus going and getting an iPhone, even though it does have some great stuff, and we are not sponsored by BlackBerry or iPhone, but like it's one of those, like, you got to fit the solution to your requirements and what is the need. And then of course the budget is always a budget. So, I know I want the BlackBerry 3000, but I can only afford the BlackBerry 1000. So, I think that those are things that everybody deals with, whether it's, not everybody gets the lifestyle that they get to, get the latest and greatest on the day of. And I'm not standing in line, and we don't have time to do that.
Who
So
knows?
we try to do as much
Maybe it's
research
out
and
there.
get back. Yeah. So
Maybe the latest and greatest is out there, Pumbaa. We just don't know. Maybe I've been lied to.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
Is there ever a person who ever gets so high in government other than like the president who says, like, they're like, okay, I'm pretty sure there's no one higher than me that knows where the aliens are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Uh-huh. Yep. And I
there's always something better, but
yeah. And things move so fast. So, all right, that's all really interesting. I love the space that you guys are getting into. Jimmy, we had talked about a little bit about veterans transitioning and finding their way into this technology sector, which a lot of people are really interested in. A lot of people don't know the way. Can you talk a little bit about that, like what transition out of the military was like, and how you would maybe advise somebody to proceed into a space like this?
yeah. So I just retired 3 months ago, medical retirement after, and going through the whole process it's daunting. I think the first thing you look for during the process of getting out is some kind of roadway ahead. And you'll have some person who doesn't even know your name hand you a piece of paper and say, here's a bunch of links and phone numbers you can call and click on. Like, oh, great. This is awesome. Like, I'm actually going to go home and look at this. And no, the process is I don't know. But that's kind of what it feels like. And there's no like command check-in sheet for, I mean, there's a command checkout, but there's no like, welcome to civilian life, you just are, one day in one, but the transition process. So yeah, I retired 3 months ago. Before that, it took, I was on bedboard status, but what led me up to it was really, really missing my son and missing my family, and knowing that if I did 6 more years and retired, my son would be 18, 19 when I finally came home. And, daddy's home and he's going off to college, and when you come home at night, that's really what matters. I believe, but there's also serving the country. And I respect that as well, to anyone who makes that decision as well. Even more respect to you. But yeah, so I made that decision in my head, and I think it was just because I've never been an adult civilian before. I was terrified, and it was kind of like jumping out of an airplane. As you're going up, right, in altitude, and this is you on your way to come up with the decision. I'm getting out of the military, right? And when you finally make that decision, they open up the door, the air starts rushing in. You're like, oh God, I can't believe I'm really doing this. And they're like, hey, do you want to re-enlist? Do you want to re-enlist? And like, you're like, yeah, I'll re-enlist. And you slam that door shut because you don't want to jump out, right? But eventually you make the jump, and people tell you like, you'll be fine. You have a parachute on, but you still don't believe them until that thing is up overhead. So all that anxiety, all that rush and frustration and anger and depression and sadness and everything balled up at once. When I finally was like, all right, I'm an adult civilian, and nothing changed. The world didn't explode. Nothing, like, it was just like, it was another day, and I think that's where I found a lot of my footing with exploring what I liked. I went to school for graphic design. And I thought I liked that, and I did, but the pay wasn't where I wanted it to be, and very competitive industry, and the people sometimes I didn't jive with other art students. Go figure. But I'm not saying anything. But yeah. Anyway, so the rabbit hole I was going down, because that's where I keep going down, is I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Going into the STEM, into the tech.
Going into the STEM realm, yeah. So graphic design, right? And so I'm just struggling. This is me right now, is how my brain was when I was getting out, and I think that's why I'm all over the place. And then there was like a calm, cool zen, and Pumbaa helped me out a lot. Being able to see what the other side was like, and going to these Zoom calls, and telling you right now, you think you know acronyms, the civilian world is worse, at least in government contracting. Like, stand by. Like, I thought, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll never see one again. No, it's everywhere, and you're gonna, and just have to accept you're gonna be. I told my boss, like, for the first few days, I'm gonna have lost puppy syndrome. Following him around, like, where do we go from here? And I was expecting a really stressful day, my first day at work, and I got all my clothes ready, and it was almost like I was checking into a command for the first time. When I was like first checking into team one, I had these shiniest boots around. I lathered those things up with that black paint stuff that was shiny.
Yeah.
You know what it was called?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Uniform, and I come walking into the platoon space, and they're all sitting there in board shorts and flip flops on, like, who the hell is this guy? I'm 18 years old, and but that's you're expecting the hammer to drop, and so I don't know why I thought that would happen at the office. I just thought, like, I would get there and maybe, I don't know, but nothing happened. I went to work. I checked my emails. I went to some meetings, and I went home, and that's it. That's pretty much my life.
Well,
Right
when
now,
you
it's
got
like,
out, bro, like, I mean, you definitely kept that drive,
Yeah.
and that was the thing, like the guidance, and I got to say thank you for listening. That's one of the hardest things, I think, that we get in that drive, that we feel like we have all the answers. I was the nerd on the team, and at the same time, I don't have all the answers. I'm a grandpa, and I try to like sit there and be like, I don't know. I don't really like to read. I have to say it, because I don't like to read, because if it's important, that's what we're grouping. Somebody's going to tell us, man. We don't need to go research and do stuff. And it's just the knowledge that I get from, reading or doing different things, or understanding where the technology or the STEM is going to be, helps us to help other guys. And it's great when somebody, like Jimmy came out and he was like, hey, I want to go find about this company. We've never talked to them. Let's go. So one of the things that we have all been groomed to is not be nervous about, hey, what's up? My name's Rene Alcazar, or, George Alcazar. They call me Pumbaa, and things like that. So we definitely have that outgoing capability, and be like, hey, what's going on? How do we fit in? What's going on? How can we help you? What's going on? What type of technology are you using? And how can we get some great guys in your direction, or, a team, or set up a program? And, everybody wants, companies definitely want some money in programs. So it's like, hey, it's a win-win for everybody. So,
yeah, I think finding out what you like before you start to transition out too is important. I mean, as dumb as that sounds, like, there is no professional job, a lot of them, where it's just scuba diving and shooting, or intelligence, unless you're going to go back to the deployment lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know. I think I started learning civilian talk, and had my resume taken from what was basically how we write in the military, which is eval style, right? Very blunt, to the point. Star, 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 deck plate leadership, star, star, star emoji. I think they're doing emojis now. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I had Hired for Heroes. This is a shout out to Hired for Heroes. Heather Peditriata helped me out. I just butchered that name because I was worried about saying it. Heather Peditriata was awesome. She took me from me saying I don't know what I'm doing, E5 evals, to several different resumes tailored for different companies. What's a cover letter, and how are you supposed to submit it? And there's a whole nother lingo and lifestyle, and at that time, I was like, I had to admit to her, I'm like, hey, I'm a door kicker. I'm kind of dumb. I have no idea what I'm doing. Right? Like, this is going to be the worst thing. It's going to read like an eval if I make it myself. Right? But yeah, I think that's part of it too, is prepping yourself. Get yourself trained up. Train yourself. Meet up with some coaches. meet up with, different people who have gotten out. But
I love that you said meet up with some coaches. We were talking about that last week. I think a lot of people will, well, first of all, sitting next to you at THF and we all got to know each other and sharing some personal stories and stuff. You're a Navy SEAL who went to school for graphic design, who now works in science and technology. I don't think anybody out there listening would think that you're a dumb door kicker by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it'll be eye-opening for people to hear that, you had some of the same worries that the average person getting out of the infantry or getting out as a yeoman or getting out as a airframer in the Air Force or something like that would have. Everyone kind of struggles. I don't think enough people are honest about struggles that they go through. And it's okay to talk about struggling, but it's in the sense of it being productive and helpful. Yeah, everyone's going through this, but you got to keep going, and there's solutions, and there's industries that you can get into, and there's skills that you can learn, like SkillBridge. Like, what, for somebody who doesn't know, and we talked about this earlier, what is the SkillBridge connection? Can you expand upon that? Like, how does that program work?
No, sorry, that's all classified. It's the best kept secret in the entire Navy.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the ins and out. Nobody really knows everything about it. And I don't know if they're keeping it that way or not, but when I went to go apply for SkillBridge and started, the first thing I had to do was ask my command before a year and a half, whatever command you go to before you get out of the Navy. If you're planning on getting out and you give your command enough time and heads up, you can go do an internship with a company, essentially. It's a way that you can still get paid by the Navy. I don't know if they allow you to travel or not outside the zone, but they allow you to, basically, it seems like I didn't really have to. I checked in with my boss, but I didn't have to, guys don't have to muster every day who are going through SkillBridge. They instead show up for their internship and they're learning. The whole point is it's a trade-off for the company, right? They get to work alongside a veteran and kind of help him out, and potentially, this could be a future employee, and I have like 6 months to get to know them, interview process, and if you do well, which most guys do, that's the potential job when you get out. Or you learn that, what, this isn't for me, which is just as important, knowing what's not for you than what is for you,
Yeah, that's awesome. And in that SkillBridge, you guys were working together?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, that's exactly how we I would just started kicking off the Unmanned Advantage, and Jimmy came in and he was like, "Hey man, we can definitely do some stuff together." And then once again, we didn't let things happen. We kind of made things happen to find out what area we wanted to focus on, whether it's advanced special ops and, working with around here or something, or was it just unmanned systems? And then we figured out that we'd want to, talk well, apply the same thing, and hopefully, be able to support not just veterans, but companies, agencies, and, come up with solutions that aren't ColecoVision.
I think you guys are doing really cool stuff. Pumbaa, I think you muted yourself somehow.
I did.
Okay, sorry. So we've been going for almost an hour here. That's usually around the length of a Scuttlebutt show. And I want to make sure I give you guys the opportunity to bring up anything that we haven't talked about yet that you guys want to talk about.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, no, I don't really have anything else, on this serious topic, other than I want to talk about Tesla maybe and BlackBerry in a little bit. But no, Pumbaa, go ahead. Do you have anything that you want to go over? Or it's coming up this year. Is there anything coming up this year?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of stuff coming up this year. So okay. So there's a lot of companies that we've been partnering with, like you have, whether it's Martech or you have, working together with to find solutions, whether it's technology, USVs, air, doing anything like that. A lot of companies come to us, dye paintball is awesome, and it's really well known. And we've been trying to work something with them to, not just bring in unmanned systems, but how we can work with, supporting military or do anything like that. We have the swim coming up. So we're gonna be doing last year for THF, I helped plan out some of the safety stuff for the boats. And this year I'm actually gonna do the swim. So be swimming across the bay and, bringing up that cold water type stuff. But I think there's a lot of projects. We'll be at different conferences with, ATARC, there's that acronym. Like you said, that's a good example of a big acronym in the civilian world. They have companies like Cisco and doing that. Hopefully we can, support that. I think that just having fun is kind of the key too. We like to enjoy ourselves, go, whether it's a swim or whether it's just hanging out or going, I don't know, sledding, running, working with dogs or doing anything like that. There's a lot of different companies, events want to do. We definitely want to thank everybody that's been supporting us as far as, like Zoom for Government has been a big sponsor, and we're coming up with the drone cast is what we call it. So they're going to be helping us out with setting up, an application to display the latest and greatest, the iPhones and the BlackBerries. No more ColecoVisions, no more ColecoVisions. So if anybody doesn't know what a ColecoVision is, you definitely have to look it up. But Atari is probably a better example, right? So, but I think I think that it's moving fast. It's moving fast in the technology. How many times you get an update and don't just click OK. It's better to understand, and that's where we hopefully can help out people, and use that tool to assign veterans and help veterans and turn around, teach kids about STEM technology, colleges, wherever we can do that. And the drone cast, maybe we can become more of a specific research tool for some agencies or anything like that, because it's growing, and the drones aren't just flying anymore. They're delivering food. They're at Denny. I went to see Air and Space, and we went to Denny's, and there was it's an unmanned system, and it's like a robot comes down, has 2 trays, and it's like, hey, grab your food. And my foot was in the way, sticking out, and it wouldn't come all the way to the table. And I'm like, it says it's jammed or something. And I'm like, what? And I moved my foot. And I mean, that's the next wave. And it's not, we also, we get into, like, what's a good example? A forklift, and bringing in an unmanned system that becomes a forklift or a bulldozer instead of having somebody in the system. It's snow bulldozers, that are unmanned. You're putting the guy in a seat where his life will be a little bit more safe. He doesn't have to freeze his ass off, I guess, in the end. And you can send a flying drone to see if there's any jam, if there's any traffic or whatever it is, right? So doing that combination and that dual autonomy is definitely something that's growing. An unmanned system that drives on water that can launch aerial stuff. So that's that next level. And I always get the question of, so aren't you scared about Skynet? I don't know. That's why hopefully there's different companies, so it's not just under one umbrella. Because
that's why we're getting on Skynet's side right now. That doesn't mess with us when it does happen. They're like, oh, Jimmy Pumbaa, good.
Yeah.
Jimmy Pumbaa are our overlords.
Yeah. Got to be a double agent a little bit.
I mean, we'd love to come back, Max, and hopefully, if there's anything that, like with ATARC or do anything like that, doing at conferences and targeting, now I wouldn't say targeting, but like, bringing in specific unmanned stuff, or, it's great to support that stuff. And we have fun. I like to talk a lot. So, Jimmy and I get along well. We all have. I'm
not going to say the name, but I know of a company that has a boat that does over 100 knots, 150 knots on the water, and it can go into something called gator mode, where it goes underwater and just the camera sticks out, and it can sit there for a long time.
Yeah,
that is awesome. That's incredible. That's badass.
So bringing on those systems to do stuff as Grandpa duties are calling me. So.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up. And I want people to know that this is like, we've gotten to know you guys now. And I look forward to having you back, maybe as regular guests, talk about maybe we'll pick a subject for next time and really dial in on and focus in on some unmanned stuff, because unmanned is something that I obviously care about a lot. It's where my, with Navy taught me, and I'm staying close to that world, and I look forward to seeing where the future of that brings us. And I'm glad to see Jimmy's in that now with you, and it's only going to get better and bigger from here, probably rapidly.
Yeah, and guess what? We are now involved. So we'd love to be back. Max, thanks for having us, man. I really appreciate it.
Max, it was awesome seeing your beautiful face.
You too. You too. You look good with that beard.
I should have definitely taken a lot of pictures, because I don't know. Now I got to be like, yeah, we all have nice hair.
That's right. And there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah, gotta have nice hair. Right. Gotta have nice hair.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, but only for today, and we'll be back soon. So,
sounds cool.
Thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother.
I look forward to talking to you all very soon, and I'm gonna close out the show real quick. So thank you guys for being here today, and hang out. I'll be with you in a second.
Scuttlebutt rules.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, guys. So how about that? How cool was that? Thank you to our guests today. That was a super fun episode, and we'll have them back on soon to talk more about all kinds of unmanned stuff, super focus in on a couple subjects. But those are two great dudes who are out doing great things, and I hope you guys got a lot out of it. If you have any questions you want me to pass on or for next time, let me know in the comments or send them to me at the scuttlebuttshow@gmail.com or any of my social medias where you can find me all at the Scuttlebutt Show. With all that being said, I look forward to talking to you guys very soon. And for now, that's the Scuttlebutt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.